Hey there, friends. Sam here again with Harvey Cat Homestead. Last week we made some kombucha, and I wanted to show you guys how exactly those swing top bottles change the way things process in terms of carbonation. So let's get fizzy. Okay, so these guys are hanging out in here, and as you can see, we've got some of the GT bottles and some of the swing tops. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what it looks like to open one of these compared to one of these in the same flavor, because I will tell you it does vary depending, the amount of carbonation varies depending on what fruit you use. So something like pineapple is going to have a lot more carbonation than blueberries. So I think the nectarines are a little carbonation heavy. So honestly, it doesn't necessarily matter that much in terms of this video. This is just kind of a scientific one-to-one, this is what it looks like kind of thing. And after I show you this, I am also going to show you a way to avoid making a giant mess. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take these outside before we open them, just so I don't have a disaster in my kitchen in case these are extra happy. But it's only been 4 days that these have been doing the second fermentation process. So for kombucha, you have first fermentation, which is what gives you the actual tea. The first fermentation is right here on our counter. That needs air. That's why it's got just coffee filters on it. Whereas these, the second fermentation is sealed. So that's what causes the fizz. I am going to see if I can't show you what it sounds like in there. You might be able to hear that air releasing from the bottles. There's just those tiny little bubbles coming out. I can hear it pretty well from over here. I'm not sure if the mic will pick it up, but as you can see, I'm giving you up close and personal. Okay, we have a nectarine blueberry and a nectarine blueberry. So we're going to take these outside and I'll show you exactly what it looks like to open them. Okay, so you did just see me take these out of the cabinet. These are still at room temperature. They're not hot, but they're not cold. So I don't know what's going to happen. This may be a total flop. This may not be a ton of fizz. We're just going to see. Okay, so this one I'm not terribly worried about. I will show you. You see how that's kind of raised up right there? That's a good sign that your second fermentation is happening well. So we can at least put it where you can see it. All right. Opening the GT bottle. Woo! So that one was very, very fizzy. And I didn't show you because it went right off camera. I'm so sorry. All right. Let me get this to where, in case I do shoot it off camera, you can see it. So our GT bottle was quite fizzy anyway. And you can see we lost a lot of product. And it's okay. We're doing this for science. So I'm not bothered by that. Ordinarily, I would not be out here playing with this stuff. Usually, I go to that level and it's not a problem because I cool the thing down before I open it. Now this is almost like popping a champagne bottle. It always makes me a little nervous. So I'm going to point it kind of away from me. And this shouldn't make me this nervous, but it does. All right, we're going to open it. Hold on. So this is exactly why we didn't do it in the house. Look at that. Do you see the roof of the carport? We have blueberry everywhere. Okay. I'm gonna get the hose and clean this up. And yeah, see, this guy's still fizzing. So that's a lot of pressure. You don't want to open one of these in your house without protection. So I'm gonna seal this back up and clean everything off. And we'll go inside and I'll kind of show you how to avoid having that hot mess in your kitchen. Okay, here we are inside of our kitchen with our same flavor kombucha. Again, this is the blueberry nectarine flavor. We have a stainless steel mixing bowl. So this is to avoid losing our product. Okay, I like to use a nice sturdy bag. This is a gallon bag. This is a gallon freezer bag. It's just plastic. A silicone bag actually would probably be stronger and a little better to do this with, but you know, that's okay. So again, this makes me nervous, but this is for science. This is for you. So you're just gonna place your bag over top of your swing top bottle. You don't want it real tight because you saw the amount of pressure that it shot onto the carport. So, and I have, fair warning, I have had these break on me too. So what we're gonna do is we're going to grab the edges of our bottle, and I'm also going to put my finger over the top of this and very slowly attempt to release the pressure. It does not want to do it slowly. There you go. And you can see your kombucha is being captured in the bowl below. And now you could just pour this into a glass and drink it. Ta-da! So one other surefire way to avoid a crazy mess, or at least to lessen the likelihood of said mess, would be to go ahead and put your bottles into the refrigerator and allow them to chill for, overnight is usually what I do. Like I'll let them in, at the very minimum, like 4 or 5 hours. Because I don't really want to drink warm kombucha. It's not really that great. And the way I do it thus far is I typically just drink it right from the bottle. The swing top bottles are not as comfortable to drink out of as the GT bottles, just because it doesn't flow out because it's a smaller opening. It's not as smooth. So with my swing top bottles, I will pour it into a glass and drink it out of the glass. But I also like sharing my kombucha, and it's a little harder to share swing top bottles with people because, as you see, it's a little bit more explanation. So what I have done in the past is I've processed in a swing top bottle and then poured it through a sieve because, again, there are people that don't like to eat, and you are pretty much eating it. If there's a lot of fruit, like there's chunks of fruit inside of the bottle, that the microorganisms that are actually doing the work of making your kombucha, that's what they are consuming and processing, and that's where your flavor comes from. But it's also still in there. Like, it's still a solid chunk. And sometimes you'll even get those microorganisms will actually form like a little baby pellicle, kind of like the big pellicles on your first fermentation phase. Sometimes you will get a teeny tiny little, because it's only 4 days. Like, it's not enough time to get something thick, but you will occasionally get a small pellicle inside of a second fermentation bottle too. So some people don't like that. So I pour it through a sieve and then into the GT bottles so that I can share with friends. I really like for sharing these bottles, what I really, really like to do is go to a nicer grocery store and then get their, they have like wine bottle carriers that holds like 6 bottles, and it cushions each bottle because they're glass, so you need to protect them. And I've mentioned this in other videos, like you do need to process your kombucha in glass. If you're using, you could do a crock as well. I think I've seen other people do that, but glass makes me feel more comfortable because I know that, one, I can clearly get it clean. Two, it's not incorporating any material from the containers. If you were doing plastic, it would, those microorganisms will actually pull microplastics out of that plastic, and that will be in your product. And I don't really want to drink that. I get enough of that the rest of my life anyway. It's kind of impossible to avoid microplastics in the world we live in, at least in modern America. Anyway, that's not the point. Avoid crazy fizz by cooling your bottles down. So that's all I got for you today. Thanks for hanging out with me and for watching me shoot kombucha all over the ceiling of my carport. Again, that's why we don't do that in the house, because it's a little crazy. And that stuff, I have had to repaint the ceiling. I'm not kidding when I say that. You may be able to see it because it's not the best. Oh yeah, you can see that very clearly. I didn't match the the color of the paint perfectly. So you don't want that. Anyway, but you really like a nice carbonated beverage, especially if you're trying to replace soda or any other junky stuff in the diet. So kombucha is a great way to do that. And yeah, I appreciate you for hanging out with me today. I had a good time. It's not often I get to explode things, even if it is a baby explosion. It's still really fun. So thanks for giving me the excuse to do that. This has been Sam with Harvey Cat Homestead, and thanks again. I really appreciate you. Bye.